The NBA season is finally here, and the Lakers, with their new coaching staff, are ready to shock the NBA. With a bunch of players returning, there's a lot of players that the Lakers are looking to rise and really improve on their season last year, and there's a bunch of concerns that we have that we'll share with you in this video. What's good, y'all? I'm Okechi Apakama, along with Hunter Pitcoff, and we are going to give you another video for Lakers Digest. And before we get into everything we have for you guys, I just want to remind you to subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, especially because we are pushing towards 3,000 subscribers, guys. We're ever so close, so each and every one of you guys who subscribe to the channel really help out. Now, before we get into that video, Hunter, how you doing? How you feeling about the NBA season starting today?
I'm so excited. I'm so happy basketball's finally back, Okechi. We've been talking about hypotheticals for months during the offseason. We finally got basketball to talk about during the preseason, but everything we've been thinking and hoping for this Los Angeles Lakers is finally going to be on display tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves game one. And I'm excited. And like every single year with this Lakers team, we got a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah, so let's dive straight into things and talk about the newest addition to the squad, and that is what to expect from J.J Redick's first year. So it is J.J Redick's first year as an NBA head coach, first time coaching at this highest level ever in his career, as he's only coached his, I believe, his 10 and 11-year-old sons. So now we implement J.J Redick and this new coaching staff. And so what are just some of your early expectations, what you saw during the preseason, and what you saw, just some of the things during training camp that have you thinking about J.J Redick and that new staff?
Well, I think the Lakers team likes him a lot more than Darvin Ham, if you've learned anything. And they're talking about everything they like about J.J Redick is what Darvin Ham was criticized for last year, which is overall just the vibe of the team and the attention to detail. And I mean, look, we're in the honeymoon phase of the new head coach, and I do hope Laker fans can be somewhat patient with him. We are the most impatient fan base in all of basketball, but he's still a first time head coach. And I'm excited, though. I think he's trying to do his own thing. I think he's going to be coaching a more modern style of play. He wants to increase 3-point shooting. He wants to be more of an up and down team. He understands the strengths and weaknesses of this roster from a season ago. And something that JJ does have an advantage of, which a lot of teams, especially in today's NBA, don't, is he finally has a team that has legitimate continuity for the last couple of seasons. I mean, outside of LeBron, Anthony Davis, Okechi, I think the longest tenure Laker is Austin Reaves, and this is his fourth year with the team. So it just shows you that this team has had a ton of turmoil. They really haven't let this thing slow cook in the crock pot for a while. They finally run back a team where most of these guys have been on this team for at least 2+ seasons, and they're finally gonna have a chance to really build that chemistry, similar to what some of the best teams in the NBA have done that won the championships over the last couple of years. And they've really put something together here nicely, and I am curious to see how much different it's going to be under JJ Redick.
Oh yeah, and then you hit it right there on the head. Just like having most of these guys come back together, so they're at least familiar with each other. So even though they're getting used to that new coaching staff and some of the new terminology and some of the new stuff that they're running, they all kind of know already how to play with each other. So that's why I liked it when JJ Redick said right off the bat that, like, hey, our starting lineup is going to be the same starting lineup that really led the Lakers to the wins. That was LeBron James, Anthony Davis, along with Reaves and D'Angelo Russell, and then Rui Hachimura to round it out. So that it was a solid lineup, and he's like, I'm not going to change that. I'm going to have these same guys work our new system and just sort of work together. And I think that helps pave things over and really makes it a lot easier for a lot of guys to feel a bit more connected. And then even some of the new guys that are more thrusted into the rotation. So I'm talking about guys like a Max Christie or even a guy like Gabe Vincent, who didn't play too much last season. They're going to have some opportunities this season to really help out this Lakers squad in ways they didn't last season. And then that's due in large part to what Redick and this new staff is doing here.
Yeah, that's a really good point you bring up, Okechi, because even though, like we've been talking about, it is primarily the same roster from a year ago, and while Laker fans are upset they didn't make a whole lot of improvements, and I can understand that too, especially when they're rumored to get certain guys and they end up going elsewhere. having continuity is super important too. And just a season ago, people were picking the Lakers after making the Western Conference Finals to potentially be the team that represent the Western Conference in the NBA Finals with the same roster they pretty much have now. Clearly did not go in that direction, but again, if people thought just a year ago that that was a possibility, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they can do it again. They probably will have to make a few more moves, maybe in between the margins during the deadline. We'll talk about that a lot later. We're just focusing on a season preview here about what they currently have. But you talk about Max Christie. He was on the team last year. He did play here and there, but this year going to have a much bigger role. That is almost like having a new addition to your team. Gabe Vincent played in what 9 regular season games,
Something
like
like
that
that.
last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like you almost could count in 2 hands how many games he played in the regular season, and just never looked like himself. He clearly had an issue. He's looked very good in the preseason. He looked fully healthy, ready to go. He's had no limitations, which the Lakers have had some negative injury news during the offseason. He's not been one of them, and I think he's going to be a really important player on this team, especially if someone goes down. He can easily go in that starting lineup and make an impact. And then Dalton Connect too, right? This is a literal new guy they have on the team, an actual addition that they made. I think he's proven himself. He's going to be in the rotation night one. It seems like J.J. Redick, I mean, calling him a top 1% shooter is a crazy compliment for someone who arguably was one in his career in J.J. Redick. So Dalton Connect looked awesome in the preseason. And I think it's something that the Lakers need off the bench. It wouldn't shock me at all if he leads the team in bench points this year. And then Jackson Hayes, too. Someone who's a bit up and down for the Lakers, but I think he's got more of a firm role, and I don't think J.J. Redick's going to ask him to do stuff that he's not capable of. So I think this rotation's a lot more set. There's a lot more conviction behind the moves that JJ's making. There's a lot more attention to detail, a lot more of a clear role for each player, and I think that's ultimately going to lead to more success, and I think hopefully a stronger start to this season than the Lakers have had the last couple of years.
Yep, right there on the head. But just people having clear and defined roles, because I think that was a lot what was missing last season, because they would go into points where we didn't know what the starting lineup was even like 30 minutes before a game. So now that we know, I know, crazy that Darvin Ham always tried to make it a mystery. It was so weird to me that he would kind of do some of those things. But
Indecisive. It was
yeah, I know. But having just that peace of mind from just a player standpoint. So even if you know you're not in the rotation, so I'm talking about guys who are further along the bench, maybe like a Jalen Hood-Schifino or Maxwell Lewis or a Christian Wood who is currently out right now. Oh, they're thinking like, okay, so if I, can play up to these caliber and this status, maybe I can make some name or, make a noise or just make a run in that rotation. So this kind of gives players a direct mindset, and it gives them something to strive for to try to get there. But we would be remiss not to talk about the big addition for the Lakers, and not big in because he was a 55th pick of last year, but Bronny James is going to be on this Lakers squad this year. And J.J. Redick has been alluding to them sharing a moment on the court. We got word that Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. were going to be in attendance for the first game against the Timberwolves. So, Hunter, do you think this is going to happen tomorrow with Bronny James, LeBron sharing the court?
You know what? I do think it's going to happen tomorrow. That is my guess. The fact that the Griffey's going to be there definitely solidifies it. But in all honesty, though, I think J.J. Redick wants to get this done early so it's not an overarching storyline for the whole season. Like, oh, when's it going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. He doesn't want this to be a storyline for the whole season. LeBron and Bronny 100% deserve that opportunity. For Bronny to go through what he's been through, to have to live in his father's shadow his entire life, to constantly be criticized, although it seems like he's a great kid, to go through his, going into cardiac arrest when he was at USC on the basketball court, not only thinking, am I playing basketball again, but thinking, like, is he going to make it? Like, that's a legitimate concern. And for a father and a family to go through that is absolutely tragic. So for him to go through all of that adversity, to still make it to the NBA, be drafted, playing with your dad. And by the way, Bronny looked really good in his last preseason game, too.
He did.
So it was nice
He
for him
did.
to have that moment. Despite the Lakers looking horrible, he looked very good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they deserve that moment. I think JJ's going to want to have it done early. And obviously, I think for ratings reasons, I'm sure the NBA would love it to be opening night. But I think if it doesn't happen this game, I think it'll happen very, very soon. But I'm going to go balls to the wall prediction here. I'm gonna say that it happens game one. I'm gonna say early second quarter because we know LeBron loves to start the quarters off out there and setting the tone. I think it's gonna happen. He'll play for a few minutes. They'll share that moment, and then Bronny will go off to the sunset, aka the South Bay Lakers. That's my prediction.
I mean, I think you're right on there with it. I'll see. We'll see about that first game, but I think it is going to happen soon because the South Bay season starts, I believe, in November, that early November. So Bronny is probably going to get his moment. Maybe not in that first game because I feel like J.J Redick would want to win that game as much as possible. And no offense to Bronny, but he's just not there yet. But maybe in that second game against Phoenix. And that will probably be a moment where LeBron and Bronny will share moments together. And then you also have like history on the other side of the floor because you have like Kevin Durant. The other day, Kevin Durant blocked Bronny, but then it ended up being a foul. And there was like a great moment there because KD and LeBron had so many battles, and now he's facing off against his son. So that was crazy in itself. But the Lakers do have a game today, and let's talk about it a little bit before we go and get into our next topic. And the Lakers will be playing the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're a bit different with trading Karl-Anthony Towns, and in comes Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. So, do you think the Lakers can finally get a win on the first game of the season? This hasn't happened since 2016. This is way back when D'Angelo Russell was the baby on this Lakers squad. So, do you think the Lakers can finally break through and get that first win on the first game of the season?
Well, it is interesting because we talk about the roster turmoil for the Los Angeles Lakers and how it's constantly been revolving doors and that this year's different. Well, it's a big revolving door for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They trade away, and I don't want to get into too much, but I don't know why they made this trade. It was a horrible trade for them. But trading away Karl-Anthony Towns, who's been there the last 9 seasons for the Timberwolves and has really been an offensive force for them. They bring in Julius Randle, who was with the Knicks for a long time, is a very different player than Cat. They bring in Dante DiVincenzo. Rob Dillingham, he's going to be someone in the rotation as well. So this is a very different looking team. They also lost Kyle Anderson in the offseason. So the Timberwolves, despite making it to the Western Conference Finals, they clearly didn't think what they had was working. They wanted to shake it up, make some different moves. And so they're going to have a very different team out there. And so I think the Lakers actually have the edge. I know the Timberwolves are the betting favorite. I understand it. They were a better team last year, but the Lakers matched up pretty well with them. They're not going to worry about losing the size advantage anymore because the Lakers were a big team. Timberwolves perhaps are the biggest team in the league. Mm-hmm. Well, now the Lakers have a bigger team, and they're going to be more physical. And as far as I'm concerned, AD absolutely destroys Rudy Gobert every single time they play. I don't expect anything different in this one. I don't think the Timberwolves have anyone that can guard LeBron. So I think I'm expecting both those guys to really eat out there, do their thing. And as long as they can stop Anthony Edwards, which they actually do a very good job at, which is shocking because I don't really think the Lakers have a roster to be able to guard a guy like that, but they somehow do. I think the Lakers have a very good chance in this game. And I think LeBron and AD understand too, like, even if they weren't there since 2016, but they understand that they have not won an opening night game wearing the purple and gold. And I think they're pretty sick and tired of it. And so the streak's got to end eventually, right? Okechi, like, it's got to be some point where, you know, they can win a game, an opening night game for the first time. And the last time they did it, I was in high school. So hopefully they can change that a little bit.
I mean, yeah, hopefully they can change that a little bit. I think you're spot on the head with the Lakers' size matching up with the T-Wolves. But there is that X factor of Anthony Edwards possibly showing out. He has been really gaining confidence, I think, these past couple of months, getting to the conference finals for the first time, being a big cog for that Team USA squad coming off the bench. So I do think he's going to come in with a lot of confidence and a lot of bravado like he always does. And then
he don't lack confidence.
No, he does not. No. And then there's also another guy who really, really kills the Lakers, and that's Naz Reid, 6th man of the year.
Oh, God.
I don't know what it is with him, but I feel like he'll just on that first game, he's going to end up getting more minutes than a guy like Julius Randle because he's kind of been in and out of the rotation, not super healthy quite yet, I don't think. So I feel like Naz Reid might end up getting more minutes, and then he is the guy that really torches the Lakers. So it's going to be a matchup to see for them. But you're talking about some of the guys who possibly could be in the rotation or really moving up in the rotation. And that's guys like Max Christie, Dalton Connect. So that is going to be our next topic here. It's like, what are the biggest risers or some of the bigger things that are going to change with the Lakers? Because they didn't make, besides Dalton Connect and Bronny James coming onto the team, they didn't really make any other changes to the roster. So they're hoping that some of these guys like Max, like Gabe Vincent, like Jackson Hayes will all make an improvement. So if there was one guy to choose, Hunter, who is that person that you're betting on is that's going to be a staple for the Lakers and really help them and help them grow and take them to the next step?
Are we talking guys off the bench? Or if
Just
you're
yeah,
looking at
primarily guys off the bench, or maybe if you do think of a starter is going to get better, like maybe Austin Reaves becomes a 20 point per game scorer this season or something.
Yeah, because I think Austin Reaves and Rui Hachimura are two guys that you definitely could look at being like, hey, if they are going to make the improvements that JJ wants them to make, those are two guys that, are in your starting lineup that can ultimately make a difference. But the one guy I'm looking at, and every time I watched him play, ever since he was in college, I was just more and more like, this guy's an absolute baller. I don't care he's 23 years old. Don't connect to me. I think he's the real deal. The kid can just flat out ball, period. And everyone looks at him. They think of the stereotypes. Oh, he's just a shooter, but like, don't connect 6'7" and is really athletic too.
He'll
The
dunk on
guy
you.
can score at all three levels. As if he can just be competent on defense. I'm not even saying being great. When you have Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, and when he's healthy, Max Christie coming off your bench. Maybe Vanderbilt starts at some point, but those three guys, say they're all coming off the bench. They're all great defenders, like good to great defenders. You don't need to be great with those guys. Just be competent when you're out there defensively. And offensively, I love the confidence he has. He takes the right shots. He's more than capable of making it happen, and he can just go on those heaters. I think he's going to be someone who's a fan favorite for the Lakers. I said it earlier. I think he could lead the Lakers in scoring off the bench, and I think this is someone who the Lakers, I mean, they didn't even have him on their draft board because they did not think he'd even be there. And I think he's going to prove a lot of people wrong that passed on him that he's the real deal. And don't connect with someone who I think is going to make an early impact. And he's going to be one of the better rookies. Or I'll even say he'll be one of the best rookies this season for the Lakers.
Yep, Dalton Connect. That is a great choice because he was one of the leading scorers in college basketball last season, and then he came into summer league. He had a pretty solid summer league. He wasn't one of like the best rookies, but he definitely had a pretty solid summer league. And then he had that huge game in the preseason, that 35 points against the Suns. That really, I think, let open to a lot of people around the NBA. It's like, oh, this guy could actually really impact the Lakers this season, and I think he can. Um, Large part having J.J. Redick as your first time coach, and they have a similar play style, a little bit. Obviously, Connect is more athletic and a bit of a guy who can finish on the inside and dunk on you. Redick could not do that in his career, so I do like Connect. But the guy for me, I think that's going to really make an impact this season is Gabe Vincent, and he was a person who kind of was like swept under the rug. Played 9 games last year, something like that. Yeah, he played in the playoffs, but he wasn't really up to his caliber. And he'll even tell you that because he said that in interviews. He's like, yeah, I didn't play up to where I thought I could, but this season he's healthy, and then in comes the confidence, and he's just one of the guys that I'm looking for because he's just a solid, sturdy veteran, and that is a player that I think the Lakers have been missing since I think Markieff Morris was on the squad, just like a veteran. They're like, okay, he's gonna come off the bench, he's gonna do this. Maybe some games he'll might hit 4 or 5 threes, and then it's a different ball game. But they've been missing that sort of like stabilizing force, like a veteran that is gonna play defense, play hard, do what he needs to be where he needs to be in the right spots. And the shot making can vary obviously on game to game, but when it happens, it really elevates your team. So to me, Gabe Vincent is that guy for the Lakers that can really shore up that bench unit and really help. Like, say if you guys, because people were talking about the D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reaves backcourt and how bad it can be defensively. Throw in Gabe Vincent right next to one of those guys, and that makes your defense a lot more sturdy, I think. And Gabe Vincent can guard a lot of dudes here in this league, especially at that point guard position, which alleviates for a guy like D'Angelo Russell, and then can also push a guy like Austin Reaves to the other guard spot. So Gabe Vincent is the guy for me, I think, that can really make an impact for this squad.
Yeah, I love that pick, Okechi. Gabe Vincent, like we talked about, it's almost like he was on the team last year, but it feels like an addition this year because we're going to see a fully healthy Gabe Vincent. And just a season before last, he was a starting point guard and having phenomenal big playoff games for the Miami Heat. And you talk about that extra ball handler, that dog coming off the bench who can press up on these guards. do the dirty work defensively and hit big shots and play on and off the ball. That was Dennis Schroeder's role for the Lakers when they went to the Western Conference Finals. He was that guy, not the same player as Gabe Vincent, but Dennis Schroeder was that guy off the bench and that extra ball handler that the Lakers really relied on that season. And I think Gabe Vincent can be that guy for the Lakers this season and just be a steady player that they needed desperately. Because last year, you look on the bench, Taurean Prince wasn't a ball handler, Cam Reddish wasn't a ball handler. Spencer Dinwiddie was, but he came a little too late and just really couldn't find his footing the way he normally, plays up to his standard of play. So Gabe Vincent really is the guy for me when he comes in the game. He's going to be that force, and it really just gives the Lakers that much more versatility. And they were one of the worst bench units in the league in scoring last year, and I think he can really help with that.
Yep. And now, I mean, we've mostly talked about some of the good and some of the good stuff we're out looking for the Lakers season, but we got to talk about the concerns because this is Lakerland and something will go wrong at some point. So it's how we overcome that adversity. So that's kind of our next topic here. It's what is our biggest concerns, and concerns plural, because I do think we both have more than one concern with this Laker roster. But I'll start here as one of my biggest concerns is first and foremost that health of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Because yes, we've got a nice season from them. They got 70 plus games from both of them, which was we haven't seen that, I think, pretty much even till way back to that title season that they won, and they didn't even get officially to 70 games because I think they finished, they stopped at like 67 or something like that, and then they went to the bubble. So different circumstances, but this is the healthiest they've ever been, and then they also played during the summer as well, so that added to a bit of their toll. But it hasn't really affected them too much in preseason because both of them looked pretty much in mid-season shape when they were going hard and really trying. So, do you share that concern of LeBron James and Anthony Davis' health, as LeBron James going into 22nd season, and Anthony Davis? I do think he's getting stronger and bigger, but there still is that injury concern for him.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to be a little bit concerned naturally. I mean, these are two guys. I mean, even Anthony Davis at this point, he's 32 years old. Like, he's not spring chicken anymore. He's someone that you have to monitor his minutes a little bit here as well. Not the same level of LeBron, but they're both professionals. They're both guys. I mean, no one has kept themselves in better shape in the history of arguably sports than LeBron James has. So whatever he does, I fully trust it 100%. I think Anthony Davis has been a lot more durable than people give him credit for. He's playing a lot more games than a lot of these other superstars like Kevin Durant and Steph Curry and Kawhi Leonard, but no one, Paul
especially
George,
Kawhi
Joel
Leonard,
Embiid, Giannis at this point. Like, he plays more games than all those guys, but everyone wants to shut up and look the other way and just come after Anthony Davis, and he's proven time and time again that he'll play through injuries and he does not care. And if he can go, he will go for this team. But I digress on that point. But you're always naturally concerned because all it takes is one injury, and that you can say that with all 30 teams to your star player, and your season's over. So you hope that those guys are healthy. I think the Lakers do have depth to get by at times with those guys out, but for super long extended periods of time, I mean, naturally, it's just not going to happen. I think two things that I am curious to see. J.J Redick has offered solutions to those problems, but we'll see if it actually comes into play, if he can get these players to buy in, or if these players are good enough to fix them, is offensive rebounding and transition defense. Those are two things that the Lakers were horrible at last year. They could not crash the glass. They could not keep possessions alive. And as a result, teams would grab the boards. The Lakers, they didn't have an identity of whether to get back on defense or to crash the glass offensively. Somehow they couldn't do either of those. And then as a result, teams would get the rebounds, go 94 feet, and score at ease. So those are two things that I want to see the Lakers get better at. Can they improve their transition defense, especially in today's NBA where every team wants to go up and down? It's the highest pace it's ever been in the history of basketball. And can they keep possessions alive, get second chance points, and just make it that much easier in the half court?
I mean, yeah, you're right on there with some of those other concerns because rebounding has been a main thing for me. Like, I really despise the Lakers rebounding with the exception of Anthony Davis because he tends to be up around the rebounding leaders just because he has to go after those defensive rebounds because nobody else would, and go after those offensive rebounds because nobody else can, with the exception of a guy like Jerry Vanderbilt, but he hasn't been super healthy. So obviously, besides the health of LeBron James and Anthony Davis, That is another concern. Will the rebounding get better? I do think it can. Some of the players they have implemented, Max Christie, I've loved how he's rebounded since day one since he's arrived in the NBA because he's a very fundamentally sound rebounder. He goes up with two hands. He's not a guy that really plays around going after rebounds, so he really goes and goes and gets it. And then another guy, Dalton Connect. We talking about his offense. We're talking about his scoring, but he could be a good rebounder too because he's got pretty good size, 6'7", good athleticism, so he can grab those rebounds if need be. And then Rui Hachimura, another guy who really should be a better rebounder than he is, but he's not.
Yes.
And I think that's just more of a mentality thing than it is an ability thing. So it's just about up to Redick and their staff really adjusting for that. But another thing that is probably going to be a concern for me, and it's kind of that backup big spot and what the Lakers are going to do there. So we actually have an injury report for tomorrow, and all the guys that are announced out for tomorrow are pretty much their bigger guys. That's Jared Vanderbilt, Christian Wood, and Christian Koloko, who have yet to be cleared, and we have not had any news about him whatsoever. So, yes, Jackson Hayes can have some good moments here and there, but he is not the perfect guy. So, with the Lakers possibly having this hole here at that backup five position, what do you think is going to be the solution? Is it going to be some Jackson Hayes here, or try to find the void with maybe Hachimura or LeBron playing the backup five, or is it the trade route? And obviously, nothing is going to really formulate itself pretty much till like December. But what is the solution for Lakers, especially at that backup five spot, Hunter?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, you hope that Anthony Davis is healthy like he was last season, and you only need someone like a Jackson Hayes or Christian Wood, depending on the matchup. They're both healthy, depending on what you want that game, whether you want a floor spacer or you want more of an athletic big, and that you get by. We've seen in the past Nikola Jokic, he's got DeAndre Jordan as his backup big.
He
The end of
doesn't
the
even
world.
play like backup. I think it's Aaron Gordon who plays the backup five, and Aaron Gordon
Yeah,
is pretty solid at doing that, even though he's undersized.
Aaron Gordon, they play a little DeAndre Jordan in the regular season.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think ideally you'd want to get a different big man for sure. Lakers been rumored for so many guys. But I think number one is just if Anthony Davis is hurt or he's missing an extended period of time, then that gets concerning because then you're
Mhm.
like, okay, now there's a problem because you're not asking Jackson Hayes to play 10 minutes a game. Now you're asking him to play 30 minutes a game, and that's where it becomes really concerning. So you hope that maybe there's someone out there. I mean, who knows with Christian Koloko? We can't have expectations, but if he can just somehow get cleared and get into basketball shape, I mean, that just gives him an extra big man. And he showed some flashes in Toronto. He was an early second round pick, but I think there's not a real answer on the roster right now, Akechi, and I think you totally hit the nail there. Like they have to probably get somebody. I would have loved Jonas Valanciunas. He decided to sign for less money with a horrible Washington Wizards team. Why I don't know. But even if it wasn't the Lakers, like why would you want to go to probably the worst ran franchise in basketball right now? But that's fine.
Mm,
But uh,
beats me.
but who just drafted a center and Alex Sar, but
Yeah,
whatever.
sure, whatever.
Yeah, that's fine. So I think they don't have an answer, Okechi. It is a bit concerning. I mean, the good news is that you happen to have a Hall of Fame center on your team.
Hmm.
So that kind of and he's going to be the one finishing games at the five. He's going to be playing 36 or 38 minutes a game.
Hmm.
But it is those times when he's not on the court, and we've seen the Lakers struggle defensively when he's not. Can they just
Mightily.
stand sturdy? Can they just get by just a little bit when Anthony Davis isn't on the court? And you hope that it might be a bit by committee. It might be taking guys like Rui Hachimura to improve his rebounding. Someone who actually has rebounded very well is Austin Reaves in the preseason. So he's
Hmm.
been buying into J.J Redick's philosophy too, to crash their boards,
Hmm.
even though he's a smaller, not very athletic player himself.
But yeah, it's just the effort thing when it comes to the rebounding. But you're right. There is really no obvious solution here unless there is a trade, and we probably won't know what that is until we start playing the games, and then we'll see what teams are going to be selling, and then what teams are going to be buying. And then obviously with the plane and stuff, that makes more teams in it, so more teams are buyers than they are sellers. So we'll see what happens on that front if there were to be a trade. My guy for the Lakers to go out and get is probably Rob Williams III from Portland. I think that dude has just enough defense. I've seen him do it in the playoffs, and yes, he's not the spacer or shooter that he can maybe a guy like a Jonas Valanciunas or maybe a Brook Lopez can be, but he's definitely going to be a guy that is worthy to be the lone five out there. If say if Anthony Davis has to sit some minutes, I do trust a guy like Rob Williams to hold up your defense, but we'll see if we ever get to that point. But just any more things what you think about the season. So more underlining thoughts, Hunter, or what do you expect from the Lakers upcoming this year?
I mean, we're just gonna see how much different it is this year with J.J. Redick there, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you have basically the same roster. So, and we talked about how it's almost additions on the roster based on guys being healthy or guys getting more of an opportunity this year. So that's exciting to see. But at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to these players just playing more consistent basketball. I think that's something that we saw, whether it was Darvin Ham's fault, the players' fault, probably a little bit of both. There were times during last season where you're like, wow, the Lakers look like a championship caliber team. And then there's times you're like, wow, the Lakers look like they are barely going to make the play in kind of team. So can they string together more consistency? Can they get through some of the tough months of December and January, which they've struggled to do the last two seasons, and then kind of get bailed out with their play toward the end post trade deadline? So I want to see the Lakers be more consistent, and I want to see them get off to a much better start. And we're going to figure out pretty quickly these first or last few weeks of October, first couple weeks of November, if the Lakers are really going to be about it and they're really going to be a team that keeps their energy and their foot on the gas pedal game in and game out.
Yep. That's probably going to be it for this video, guys. But just before we hop out, there is just 78% of you guys who are not subscribed to the channel just yet. And if you guys want more of that Laker news, Laker updates, especially with the NBA season that is finally here, you guys make sure you guys are subscribed to Lakers Digest. And really, that's our last really thoughts here. But parting thoughts, Hunter. The first game of the Lakers tonight, going against the T-Wolves. Also, we have to see the Boston Celtics receive their rings today, but I know. But yeah, just more just like and just final thoughts here.
I'm just excited for basketball to be back. And like Okechi said, guys, what are you doing if you're not subscribed to the channel? You're all watching. 70% of you that watch our stuff are not subscribed. So just subscribe. Be a part of the family. And when the Lakers are killing it, Lakers Digest is killing it, you can say you were here first before everybody else. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. Hopefully the Lakers finally get a dub this year. But I have been your host, Okechi Apakama, along with Hunter Pitcoff, and we will catch you guys on the next one.